You're listening to the LoFi Music Academy podcast, your go-to space for all things lo-fi. Sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of lo-fi music production.
Hi, and welcome to the LoFi Music Academy podcast. I'm Spencer J, your guide through the chilled-out, atmospheric world of lo-fi beats. If you've been following along with the episodes, we've covered everything from creating warm bass lines to working with organic sounds. But today we're diving into one of the most crucial aspects of lo-fi music production, mixing. Mixing is where the magic happens. It's the stage where you take all your carefully crafted elements, drums, melodies, bass, textures, and blend them all together into a cohesive track. And while lo-fi is known for its imperfections, the mix still plays a huge role in making everything sound balanced and warm and inviting. In this episode, we'll walk through the basics of mixing for lo-fi, keeping it simple and approachable, especially for beginners. Let's start by talking about the approach to mixing lo-fi. Lo-fi is all about warmth, subtlety, and mood. Unlike mainstream genres where mixes are polished and pristine, lo-fi embraces imperfection, texture, and character. But that being said, a good lo-fi mix shouldn't be sloppy. It needs to have balance, warmth, and space for all the elements to breathe. The goal in mixing for lo-fi is to create a cozy, intimate atmosphere while ensuring each sound has its own place in the track. Don't worry about making everything perfect, but do focus on making your track feel good. That's the vibe we're going for. The first thing to think about when mixing is balance. You want to make sure no element of your track is overpowering the others. For example, your drums should sit comfortably alongside your bass and melodies rather than drowning them out or being drowned out themselves. Start by adjusting your fader levels. I like to bring all my tracks down and then gradually raise up each element just to find the right balance. A lot of lo-fi tracks have the drums sitting in the back of the mix, with the melodies or textures taking the spotlight. Remember, subtlety is the key. Next up is EQ, which stands for equalization. This is one of the most important tools for creating space in your mix. EQ allows you to boost or cut certain frequencies, helping you to avoid a muddy mix where all the sounds are fighting for the same space. In lo-fi, you'll often want to create a warm mid-ranged focus mix, so you'll likely roll off some of the extreme highs and lows on most instruments, especially on melodies and pads. For example, you might use a low-pass filter to remove some of the high-end frequencies from a piano or synth to give it that vintage feel. On the other hand, make sure your kick and bass have enough room in the low end. Use EQ to carve out space between them, so they complement each other rather than clash. Now let's talk about creating space and atmosphere, an essential part of lo-fi's chilled out vibe. Reverb and delay are your best friends here. Reverb adds space and depth, making your instruments feel like they're sitting in a room or space rather than playing dry and upfront. Use it sparingly though. You want a sense of space without washing out your mix. For lo-fi, smaller room or plate reverbs work well, giving you a warm, intimate vibe. Delay, on the other hand, can be used to add rhythm or create subtle echoes that enhance your melodies. A bit of delay on a piano or guitar melody can give it that classic lo-fi feel, where the melody lingers and feels more expansive. Just make sure your delay times sync with your track's tempo. Next, let's talk about compression. Compression controls the dynamics of your mix, making the louder parts quieter and the quieter parts louder. In lo-fi, we don't want a heavily compressed, overly squashed mix, but a little bit of compression can help glue everything together. For example, You can apply gentle compression to your drum bus to make sure the kick and snare sit nicely together. You can also add a touch of compression on the entire mix, just to keep everything feeling cohesive without squashing the life out of it. Saturation is another key tool in lo-fi production. It adds warmth and subtle distortion, making your sounds feel more analog, more vintage. Think of it like the sound of an old cassette tape or a vinyl record. There are plenty of great plugins out there for adding saturation. Some of my favourites include Isotope Vinyl, RC20 Retro Colour, and even free options like Soft-Tube Saturation Knob. Use these plugins to add warmth to your drums, bass and even your melodies. But be careful, too much saturation can muddy up your mix. So start subtle and build from there. Automation is a powerful tool that allows you to add movement and life to your mix. You can automate volume, panning, reverb or delay to make certain elements of your track evolve over time. For example, you might want to automate the reverb on your melody to increase during the breakdown of the track, creating a more spacious atmospheric feel. Or you could automate the volume of your textures, bringing them in and out to keep things interesting. As we wrap up this episode, here's a few final mixing tips to keep in mind. Firstly, always reference your mix with headphones and speakers to make sure it translates well on different systems. Next, take breaks. Your ears can get fatigued after long mixing sessions, and stepping away for a bit can give you a fresh perspective. And finally, don't overthink it. Lo-fi music is about feeling, not perfection. So trust your instincts, embrace the imperfections, and have fun with the process. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing it with fellow music producers who might find it useful. Until next time, keep creating, stay inspired, and remember, it's all about the vibe. Take care and see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the LoFi Music Academy podcast. If you're ready to start making lo-fi music and want to go even deeper, grab your free guide. Discover the 6 essential steps to create a release-ready lo-fi track from scratch. Whether you're using budget gear in your bedroom or a small home studio, this guide will help you get that polished, dreamy lo-fi sound you're after. Just go to www.lofimusicacademy.com. Until next time, keep creating those laid-back vibes, and don't forget to subscribe for more lo-fi tips and tricks.